In Japan, Christmas cake is synonymous with strawberry shortcake, a light and fluffy confection with alternating layers of sponge cake and delicate whipped cream, topped with perfectly sweet fresh strawberries. After fried chicken, Christmas cake is the most popular food consumed during Japan's Yuletide season. Today, the cost of an entire Christmas cake ranges from 4,000 yen, about $36, to as much as 9,600, which is about $90. But I was lucky to find a slice at my local supermarket for just a couple bucks. Now, the concept of Christmas cake was first introduced to Japan in 1910 by Rinemon Fuji at his brand new European-inspired pastry shop, Fujiya, in Yokohama, as a rich, liqueur-soaked fruitcake. In those early days of the 20th century, Christmas in Japan was a holiday for adults, an excuse to hold stylish parties, explains author Kenichiro Hori. This was not an event for children. Tokyo area's largest port city, Yokohama, was a center for international trade. Foreign chefs were encouraged to share their cuisine with locals. As a young apprentice, Fuji had been eager to learn. In 1912, Fuji traveled to the United States and spent a year in Los Angeles. It was there that he fell in love with shortcake. The name shortcake actually refers to shortening, or fat, which is used in pastries to create a delicate and crumbly texture. The cake originated in Britain, dating at least as far back as 1588, but it was perfected in America, with chemical leavening which made the cake lighter and fluffier than its British predecessor. Upon his return to Japan, Fuji developed his own version, which was better suited to the local palate, with layers of soft sponge reminiscent of wagashi, traditional Japanese sweets. As the fresh fruit was unavailable in winter, Fuji's Christmas shortcake was decorated with candied strawberries. In the auspicious colors of red and white, the cake evoked the national flag. In addition to cream puffs and eclairs, Fuji began selling his shortcakes in 1922. That year, he opened a new Fujiya location in Ise-Zakachiko, and one in Ginza the next year. Customers included university students as well as famous kabuki and film actors. However, it wasn't until the US occupation that the general public developed a taste for yogashi. Japan joined World War II in September of 1940, entering into an alliance with Germany and Italy. Japan attacked the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor less than a year later, causing the neutral nation to enter the war. American customs were deemed unpatriotic, and in 1942, prompted by shortages, the Japanese government rationed food items such as salt, oil, and sugar. This was the end of yogashi. Then, in 1945, 2 atomic bombs were dropped by the United States, the only nation to ever deploy the weapon, on Japan, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing an estimated 200,000 people. Emperor Hirohito surrendered, and US forces occupied Japan for the next 6 years, in order to ensure the disarmament and rehabilitation of the country. During the American occupation, Christmas and all its sugary treats became a coveted image of abundance. Parades took place in Tokyo, as can be seen in photos by US officer Emery D. Middleton. Still today, people recall soldiers passing out gum, chocolate, and ice cream. When the Japanese economy finally improved and living standards rose, strawberry shortcake became a symbol of prosperity, one which could be safely kept in newly available consumer appliances like refrigerators, which were first sold in 1953. Amid labor shortages, Japanese companies desperate to attract and retain workers introduced a lifetime employment system in 1955. These salarymen, and yes, they were men, suffered demanding days, working as much as 60 hours a week by 1960. Around 1963, Fujiya began to market Christmas as a family occasion. Columnist Asato Izumi translates the campaign slogan as, "Daddy, come home early." That Christmas, Fujiya sold approximately 280,000 cakes in just 2 days, and throughout December, shops across Tokyo sold a collective 2.5 million Christmas cakes. Finally, Fuji fulfilled his lifelong dream of popularizing yogashi and making the world happy with sweets. He passed away in 1968, just a few years later. So what does this all have to do with strawberries? Well, today, according to the Japanese Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, approximately 300 kinds of strawberries are grown in the nation, estimated to account for more than half of the world's existing varieties. Strawberries were introduced to Japan by Dutch merchants in the early 19th century, and cultivation finally began in the 1880s. Nevertheless, strawberries remained rare and expensive until after World War II. Agricultural advances like the adoption of greenhouses and the development of polyvinyl chloride film for low tunnel production made the fruit accessible for the general public and even available in winter.
Growing up as a kid, I would only have strawberries at special occasions.
Recalls Hiroki Koga, the co-founder and CEO of Oishi Berry, a vertical farming startup based in the United States. He refers to strawberries as the holy grail of vertical farming. Small-scale vertical farms have been operating in Japan since the 1970s, but strawberries remained elusive. Just recently, in May of 2021, the Japanese agricultural technology company Spreadco announced that it had succeeded in producing strawberries in vertical farms. These indoor farms are efficient in water and land use while ensuring stable production. They are pesticide-free and can be built in dense urban areas. Emeritus Professor of Public and Environmental Health at Columbia University, Dixon Despommier argues, if we don't do something soon to reduce the rate of climate change, vertical farming may be our last hope of getting food on the table for all those who live in cities. Not only is the strawberry shortcake a symbol of modern prosperity, but it may be an omen for a future of continued technological advancement and global cooperation. Okay, can I eat this now? Please?